What is good, YouTube? Welcome back to the Stock Hustle channel with your boy William. Today is Friday, October 15th. Damn, is it good to be back and back at it. So, as always, guys, any subscribers to the channel, I always appreciate you guys 100%. The channel has been getting a lot of new subscriptions, and I appreciate each and every one of you, especially each and every one of you that watches my videos all the way through the end, or any likes and comments you guys do drop. I value each and every one of your guys' opinion and feedback always, and that'll always be that way, because again, the only purpose for my channel is to try to help people make better financial decisions for themselves in the long run so that they can become more profitable. That is the only goal. I don't charge people, I don't Patreon you, I don't merch you, I don't do anything. The only purpose to watch my channel is to watch my videos and to gain some knowledge for in case you maybe something you didn't already know. But as always, without further ado, let's get into it. So this stock is MOS, and this was tweeted to me in a question, and I wanted to address it properly. I briefly touched on it yesterday. Today, this video is going to be the in-depth look into Mosaic. So for those of you that do not know Mosaic, Mosaic is essentially a company and producer and marketer of concentrated phosphate and potash crop nutrients, right? Company operates through three segments: phosphates, potash, and Mosaic fertilizants. So it's in the agricultural or materials segment or industry, right? This company does have a website. I'll touch on that briefly in a minute. Looking at this ratings, just the ones on Thinkorswim, as you see, you have a hold, a buy, a 5-star, and a long. When specifically looking at that, if we go into Market Edge specifically, you see that they are long on Mosaic, and I'll show you why here in a minute. Their rating is bullish, with a bullish rating with a strong buy essentially. Now, looking further into the company, this is just one rating that I always like to use in my videos to give you guys reference from a lot of different angles. So far from what I've seen from Mosaic, I'm pretty bullish on it. I don't have a position in this. I was looking at an options chain play, and I'll touch on that briefly as well. Why? Based on something I found in Unusual Whales. Going further into the company, they do have a website for investors specifically, which is this here. Something that I found pretty interesting was, here. Mosaic is one of the world's leading crop nutrient companies with a focus on potash and phosphate, two of three most vital nutrients. So, what does that statement mean, or what does that say? Essentially, what they're telling you, if you are bullish on crop investments, you're going to need them. Number one, because you need their product to grow. They are one of the leaders. They are ranked pretty high. They do have pretty high ratings. So far, I've found nothing but bullish information on it. There's only one thing that concerns me, and I'll touch on that briefly. I did go into their website, into their investor webpage. They do have a presentation open, which I did go ahead and pre-open and review. One of the things that I found most interesting was this here, a $1 billion in share repurchase authorization. So they're going to be buying shares back. Normally, that is a pretty bullish sign for a company if they are spending the money to buy shares back, which means that your shares are now worth more if you hold shares of theirs, right? That's the way you have to see it. That is a bullish sign for any company, anytime in the stock market. You always got to pay attention to these little details. This 50% dividend increase in 2021 is also another bullish sign. That means they have more capital to give out back to their investors, which in the long run is going to generate more money for you, right? Those are another bullish sign of a company you are wanting to invest in specifically. So please keep that in the back of your mind as well. The presentation goes on to talk about their growth, their targets, some of the leading competitors or countries that they're invested in: Brazil, India, China, right? It has a lot of really good information. I'll leave this presentation linked in the details of my video below. If you guys want to review it, you're more than welcome to. Financials looking pretty good with the EBITDA adjustment increase, as well as a consolidated gross margin and net sales increase of 33%. That's telling you it's more money coming in versus less money going out. So again, very bullish on this as well. Excuse me. Going in further deep, I do like to also give you guys some price targets, not my own. I don't provide price targets. I just provide information so that you guys can make better financial decisions for yourself. But if we go into Nasdaq, there is a strong buy rating on this with 6 analysts offering recommendations. Specifically, let's take a look. They have a high of 55, an average of 44.13, and a low of 36. Well, let's take a look at the chart since we didn't touch on it first. As you see, Mosaic has been going on this bullish run after consolidating essentially from June all the way through September, has now started this run up, right? Out of nowhere, right? Like what's happened? Well, they did have good earnings reporting in in quarter two. They did have a dividend payout that you see here of 7 cents, and now they have earnings coming up on November 1st. So based on this chart, what you would lead to, I guess, speculate is that they're going to have a pretty good earnings report come November 1st, and they are releasing earnings on November 1st. I'm not sure why. Oh, there we go. On November 2nd, excuse me, at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. But if you go back in historical information on this stock, let's go back. I like to usually give a gap of 5 to 10 years. We'll just go 10 just to be safe, just so I can show you guys the long perspective of this. Historical high, as I had said yesterday in the video, was 47.13. That's the most recent area of resistance that they are fighting against, which is right here in this section, right? And you can go in and zoom into a chart and see 1, 2, 3, 4 touch points there, showing you this is the last point of resistance where Mosaic was at. Now that they are approaching that, currently sitting at 41.43 today, as of today, currently live right now, they are essentially having a little bit of a red day. But let's ask yourself why. Like, why is it having a red day when it has this massive bullish run, right? Well, simply put, stocks cannot just always run up. If they do run up, they either have to run up, consolidate, build a floor so that they can keep running up, right? So what do we see here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 essentially candles on the 1-day chart, showing you consolidation is starting to build a floor here, right? Think of it like it literally is building a floor here. And we can set a drawing just to kind of give you a visual. We'll set a little floor right here. Boom. Not much of a floor here. I want you to extend it to the left. Show the price on the right, and there. Now this has you a better visual. Essentially, what it's doing here in this consolidation period, these last 5 or 6 days, it's trying to build a floor here. Why? So that it can continue running up to the upside. Let's take a look at our indicators, like I like to quote a lot of the times. Our MACD is in a buying period. As you see, the orange line is getting close to converge on the bottom side of that blue line. Essentially, that's why the two lines are getting closer, telling you, okay, a selling period might come into play here pretty soon if we continue having these red days. Doesn't guarantee it, right? Because it doesn't predict the future. It's telling you an indicator. It's an indicator of what it could do or might do. So looking at the RSI, you see we are in overbought. Again, as we all know, stocks can't live in overbought forever. They have to come back down to earth, cool off, so that we can continue on that run up. And then you see this ATR of 1.26, or essentially a swing of $2.52. If I did that math right, good job for me. I am early. I've had a couple cups of coffee, so as you can see, I'm energized and ready to get back at it. But let's take a look further into this, right? So why am I so bullish? Well, one of the reasons I'm also bullish on this company is because in agriculture, again, it's production of food, right? Right now with the whole container ships, a lot of these products are going to different countries. Their products specifically are coming from different countries and going to different countries. Alleviating the bottleneck, which I also referenced in yesterday's video, is going to help them in some way, shape, or form. If they get good earnings here on November 2nd, even though they've been facing these bottleneck issues with container ships getting unloaded, it's going to tell you once that pressure is alleviated there, their growth potential is going to be even higher than what it already is. Just a couple things you need to think into account, right? Some things tie into others, some things don't, right? This is one that I see that will affect them because, again, they do ship product internationally. They've told you they're one of the world's leading providers for nutrients for farming and agriculture. So that's going to have an effect on them. It'll also give them a push if that restriction or bottleneck is fixed or corrected. Now, let's take a look at some other things that I found pretty interesting, right? I always like to look at institutional ownership or holdings. As you do see here, we do have the big giants, Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, holding a significant amount of shares currently. If we look at the change, we have had some reductions in some other companies, but what always interests me is who's holding what and how much. 37 million shares, 26 million shares for the two giants. It's always important. Another thing I wanted to see was short interest. So when you go in short interest on Nasdaq, it's funny, it actually shows no short interest, right? But we all know you don't get your information just from one source. So I went digging. As I always like to quote, I went to Marketbeat specifically. If we look here at short interest on Marketbeat and short volume, you see that currently 231 million shares as of September 30th are being reported short. Essentially, days to cover is at 1.7, and percentage of the short float over time is 1.88%. So it's not significant that I would say like a gigantic amount, but it is a pretty sizable short position. Looking at who's holding the short position, as always, I like to show, you have the two shitty giants and shit in a box advisors, as you see here, are holding a short position. They've actually increased that position by 34.9% as of August 17th, 2021. No surprise there. We all know their tactics and how they like to do business. Again, that's good for them and good luck. But let's take a look at the options chain now, which is always my favorite part. As I did say from the start of the video, I am bullish on playing an option, and I'm about to show you why. Going to my favorite tool that I always like to quote, Unusual Whales, clicking on the flow, putting in the ticker MOS, you see that this is the current or most recent options chain activity, right? Let's take a look at just general before we do a deep dive. At the top, you see call premium 1 million, put premium 83.1 thousand. So automatically you should know, okay, well, there's more calls than puts. That's a good sign. Let's look at the charts. If you look at the charts right away, what do you see? Bullish sign on October 15th, as most companies that I've been reviewing on our YouTube plays have been really bullish for this expiration date today specifically. You also have a bullish sign on October 22nd, October 29th, before we start getting closer to that bearish sentiment down here for the later strikes for November or middle of November. And then you have December going back up to bullish. As you see here, the January and December strike dates are bullish, well above the bearish sentiment calls or dates, excuse me. Looking at the strike that is being targeted the most, automatically we see 35 as a standout and 41. Yesterday, if you were in my text group, I did message you guys 3 options chains that I saw interesting that I'm potentially going to buy or open a position in. But let's do a deeper dive. If you go back into your usual whales and you want to filter to try to see like, okay, well, that tells me some information, but what are the giants doing, right? Like, what are the big whales doing? You can go into here to filters, put $50,000, so $50,000 minimum expenditure for these options, and then what do we see? Now it's changed. Check it out. You see $62,000 on a call for $35. You see $118,000 for $40 on a call on for the January and October. So this one was literally bought urgently. It was bought on October 15th. So it literally was bought this morning for today, meaning that they are targeting that this will shoot up in price eventually before the end of the day when the stock is already sitting at 41.16. So you got to think, like, why are these positions being open, right? But if you look over here on the left, you see that a lot of these purchase dates are recently this week, like specifically. And I'm not filtered by day or time. It's just most current, but by $50,000, right? So we're only wanting to see what the big whales are doing. Well, automatically, looking at this specifically, you can see that there are a lot of bearish or a lot of bullish calls, excuse me, for a significant amount of coin being thrown at this play, even a sold put for the June 17, 2022 at $37. So people are thinking this is still going to have a run up. As I've mentioned before we did this dive into the options chain, I do expect with the RSI being an overbought, we will have a pullback essentially of some sort. Before this will have to come down to neutral at least, or a little bit lower. From historical views, it looks like it likes to sit around neutral for the most part and then jump back up. It does have some events where it goes into overbought or oversold, excuse me, but for the most part it likes to sit around this neutral area, just going back in history, as you guys can see from the historical RSI. So again, please expect a pullback in this if you are interested in investing in it. Once you do get that pullback done, it should shoot back up to the top side, being that there is so much bullish momentum, a lot of institutional ownership, very low short interest compared to other companies we reviewed. Plus, again, you also have to take into account with the container ship restriction being alleviated, that's going to help produce more money. I will be patiently watching for their earnings report. A good projection maybe that I can see happening is this could pull back essentially for half a week maybe, getting closer to that earnings date. Once earning hits, if they have or drop good earnings, it's expected, this will have a nice run up to the top side to close out the year and have a really nice gain. If you play the options, I would most certainly look at the December 17th option, specifically the one I recommended to my text group. was the 41, the 42, or the 43, because you have a 0.45 delta, 0.5 delta, 0.56. I'm more favoring the 0.56, to be honest. You're looking to make an expenditure with this pullback today of 295 to 315. Being that we did get that pullback, these are essentially on sale compared to how they were yesterday. But as always, guys, I think you guys get the point of what I'm trying to pass over. If you guys have questions or comments, please leave it down in the comments below. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter or IG. You can always message me there as well, and I'll get back to you. As always, like the video if you enjoyed the information, and I will catch you guys in the next one.